To the time now, so I will start the recording now and welcome everyone to this week's meeting. One note, unfortunately, our presenter, Natalie Hotram from what I'm always butchering the name, Wageningen University in the Netherlands.
Wageningen. Wageningen.
I was practicing all before this, trying to get it down, but I just couldn't. She's unfortunately sick today, so we're going to try and schedule her in for another meeting to go through that. So, fortunately, we won't have a presenter today. Do we have any new people on the call that I haven't called out? I didn't have anyone on my list that I've added recently. If anyone did want to introduce themselves, let me know now. If not, we will go over to our conferences, meetings, and field tours, just going through that. I know there was the World Agri-Tech Innovation Summit. Did we have anyone on the call that was there this week? No? We'll see if we can get someone next time then out there. And then there's also coming up, we have the New York Organic Summit, which is April 3rd to 5th, the Discovery X Conference, which is April 17th to 18th. We have the Agritech Venture Forum, which is May 1st and 2nd, and that's in Toronto. And then also the International Symposium of AgRobotics, which is the 22nd of July in Manhattan, Kansas. Those are kind of some of the events. If anyone does have events coming up, please reach out to me and let me know. We can put them on the agenda. Project updates. So we are currently in the process of having our annual report translated into French, and once that is done, we will have that posted out to the working group website, and we'll obviously alert to the group that it is available. One other thing is we will be putting this out hopefully soon. I'll share my screen so you can see it. Sure, should click that one. There we go. We'll see more of these coming out. So these are our action item reports. So what we've been doing and everything along that. So instead of waiting for the annual report at the end of each year, you'll see things that are a bit more prevalent with this. We'll be creating a web page as well on the working group website. If anyone has anything that you'd like to see more or more reports on, it can be brought up. But it'll give us a brief overview of what we're actively doing at the moment. And what has been completed and what hasn't been completed. So I'll be putting that out just so everyone can see that. Four main items, activities that we've been working on was obviously establishing the presence of the AgRobotics working group, establishing funding priorities for the 5 years, increasing working group membership, and AgRobotic research. Also with that 5-year funding, if anyone does have anything they'd like to see put on that or any thoughts on it, please reach out to us as well. Like we said, that's a living document and it's kind of a framework for what we're aiming to do, but we really want that to be guided by the working group as well. And for funding, I do believe today is the very last day for the Greenbelt Foundation as well. If anyone is looking to put in their letter of intent, please do that today. Thrive Alberta Innovate, the climate challenge is due next week, I do believe is when their applications close. And also next week, the ATII is closing their applications. That's a really, really great program if you're interested in getting into robotics or having that adoption brought on. That does cover most of the items. So I'll open up to a round table. We're going to have a relatively short meeting this week. Anyone have any items they'd like to have brought up?
Um, I had a couple of meetings with Pavel and some apple growers in the past week, and I'm not allowed at this point to share the spreadsheet that Tavel has made. But anyways, it's a very detailed amount of work went into the actual calculation as to what goes into the harvesting cost of apples. And something that I was going to talk about is it's like a level of granularity. So while we're going, just give me 1 second and I'll just going to open it up on my machine. So let's say that, if I could ask the group when you're thinking about harvesting an apple, like what cost would go in there, and how does a farmer think about those costs? Um, the level of granularity that we went into is it's not just the straight labor cost of the employee, but some of the other costs that went into this are the costs at different levels of the tree and different stages. So when you're picking up high versus picking down lower, even on a trellis tree, there's differences in that. There's the cost of the managers that go into managing the employees that you have. There's the cost of the housing. And an interesting stat that the growers are bringing up to us is that let's say that the current employee cost is $21 an hour by the time that you factor in all the different expenses. They are predicting that by 2030, that's going to increase to over $30 an hour in the next 4 to 5 years. And we've been talking to some other growers in the vegetable side. They're expecting similar increases in labor costs. And that does not factor in housing. So the housing costs are on top of that $30 an hour fee. So there's real pressure on labor moving forward. So I thought that was interesting. And then the other question that we had is getting some real data on the actual effectiveness of the human pickers and how much damage are they actually causing. There's the calculations were given based on what farmers estimate, and but what real data there is on actual damage. And the damage category flows not just from initially like right at harvest time, but the impact on the storage of that apple and on the amount of apples you can pull out of a bin later on. So that damage moves forward, which I guess people that are in the industry would know these kinds of things, but I thought that was an interesting piece of information. And we went through that in great detail, and we got some good data from two of the growers on that. And we have another conference call here coming up, and I'm hoping that I can share that to the group. I think it's a pretty good piece of information. It's one of my updates.
So there's a question for you as well, Chuck. Is that info from the growers or from Tavel?
It's actually from the growers themselves. And Tavel has made a nice sheet for tracking it. And I'm really hoping they're going to let us use that going forward as part of that's one of the requirements. If we put this through the innovation farm, it's a piece of data and tracking that we can share as part of the group. Yeah, and that came up, Paul. Although it's interesting when you talk to the growers, they really think highly of their workers, and they estimate very low damage, like extraordinarily low damage levels on the apples, but they actually don't have a lot of data to back that up. Like have they actually gone and measured and calculated, which I thought was interesting.
Do they factor in training costs as well?
No, no, they
I'll
did
just,
not.
I don't have any plan to execute it. I was in northern Italy in the fall. And if in northern Italy, it's one of the most intensive and concentrated apple production areas in the world. They basically produce more than half of the apples for all of Europe in a very small little valley. Very dense, highly productive operations. And they look totally different than what we do here in Canada. Um, yeah, obviously different circumstances. I wonder if there's an opportunity to learn. There were some discussions, I mean, just off the topic, discussions with kind of people there, and they said the Italians laugh at the Canadians because they're like, I don't understand why you grow apples the way you do. You know, and so they see it as an opportunity, like I could go and teach you how to do this and it's way better. So that's the kind of comments the Italians were making in terms of what they're doing. It was unbelievable how they grew apples there. It really was extremely dense, intense, highly productive, lots of machinery. And probably because they're been dealing with the labor problem for much longer, is my guess. But anyway, I'm just putting it out there that I wonder if we have any connections to Italy that we can learn something. Because it's always nice to learn from somebody who's already got a proven technology.
I'll look into it and see if there's any companies in that area as well.
The other comment,
basically the area around Bolzano is where it's a big valley that goes down to Lake Garda, and it's world class, very dense.
the other comment I was going to make is that the projects were released that were funded by the AAFC Clean Tech Initiatives. And from what I can see of the list, it was mostly corn dryers and I don't think any of the people who submitted a robotics project were approved, which is not that surprising. So I think we kind of have our answer on there. It'd be interesting to have a, if we have anybody within that department to have a kind of a discussion as to kind of what we're doing wrong and, and why they wouldn't have fit in that category. Like, some of the stuff is good projects, like there's digesters and there's other things, right? So I'm not criticizing who they chose. But
Hey, Chuck,
Yep.
Chuck, it's Kyle here from AFC. I'd be happy to set up a meeting with our programs branch colleagues. They're always willing to have a chat, and I kind of share your concerns there. Like it sounds sometimes like this is the grain dryer slush fund or something, but I know there are some innovative projects that have been funded beyond grain dryers and
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But if we can sort of, have you guys have an opportunity to chat with them and that can be sort of relayed, even if maybe, I know we've had some folks come in and talk about our programs before, but is there any appetite to have somebody maybe talk about the ACT program specifically, or I don't know. If there is, we can probably set that up as well.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not criticizing what's being chosen. It's that I think, there's an expectation that maybe something, and I think it'd be worthwhile to have a conversation around that, especially as time moves forward. I think one of the challenges that we have with some of the robotic stuff is that maybe they're not classed as high enough TRLs. And but I don't have a good answer for that. So
yeah, and I mean, there's definitely ways to frame some of the automation and robotics projects, I think, around GHG emission reductions. And I've seen that kind of stuff done, and it
Yep.
those are the kind of projects I think that do have merit. So, but perhaps again, I'll follow up offline and we can just talk about programs.
Sounds good.
Well, it definitely makes sense to understand what is the selection criteria. Because if it's size of the problem and quantifying what is the impact of the problem and the impact of the savings if it gets solved, we need to know that to use the same arguments.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree. There's a lot of factors that go into these these projects, but like there are some the GHG emission reduction potential is a big one. I don't know how much TRL factors in, Chuck, so that's a good question. And again, we can hopefully kind of crack that nut and relay that information back to the group.
Yeah, exactly. Because we have members of the group here that I think could assist. You know, whether it's from Guelph or from Vineland or whatever, that can assist with the you know, helping the producers. Like this isn't so much, you know, Haggerty or someone like me trying to get money of the program. This is more for the producers trying to get access to it. And my feeling is that the greenhouse gas target stuff isn't going away anytime soon. So we might as well get our act together.
Yeah, and you know that's a good point too. So I think in my mind I was thinking more about the research and innovation stream, but on the adoption stream, I have reviewed projects for SPB, and it is it does strike me sometimes that producers could use a bit of assistance in putting together their applications. They're not like all of us who are experts in writing grants. So yeah, that's a really good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have a diverse set of eyes on a grant application before you put it in. Even we end up helping the academics who are experts in their fields. You know, it's having those different perspectives that gives you the data and tells the right story. It is extremely hard, and I can see a lot of farmers having kind of monovision where they're focusing on their one problem and not realizing that their solution can have multiple benefits, and they just didn't tell them. And so then they reduced their opportunity because they didn't sell the solution well enough. And sometimes you need to dig up some hard data. And sometimes the academics can help dig up that hard data to say that, you know, well, actually research says this has been done and this is a real cost, as opposed to on my farm, I do this and it's costing me money. Sometimes the credibility is a little better if you reference the data. So we see it all the time. We try and get help with our academic applications too, so that we have, you know, other perspectives in there. So it's hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's just it's a new sector for this group to be participating in, and so we just have to kind of navigate that space, right? So thanks for the support, Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Any other items? Oh, sorry, Chuck. Go ahead.
That's okay. I was going to say that Grant is traveling right now, but he was in Geneva this last couple of days mapping out the vineyards for the TED tour that's happening in June, just for the sake of argument. And I know that there are Grant was also setting up a visit from Michigan State up to the research station sometime in the next month to do with the farm droid. So I think there'll be some details on that little tour that's happening. And yeah, that's I think that was the other kind of update that we had this week. I know that we've got lots of growers that are participating in the submitting ATII applications. We're getting, you know, so I think between Curtis and Jason and myself, we've had lots of people looking into that, and we'll see where that all shakes out as well.
Sounds good.
And yeah, just I would like to introduce myself. I'm Niranjan here. So Joe introduced me to this group, and thanks to Joe. So this is a very wonderful group. I'm a chartered accountant, but we have a large agriculture business in our family. So after chartered accountancy, I got introduced to agribusiness, and I started India's first digital ag media in 1999, 25 years ago. And that is how I got introduced to Joe. So currently I am associated with RHA. We started a company, techpipers.com, to help startups get some technology services. And we started agtechnews.com to cover agriculture tech related innovations and the developments happening in that sector. So obviously, if anyone wants any kind of PR to be published, I would be more than happy to publish it, and more than happy to cover the activities of this group. Thanks.
Fantastic. Welcome to the group.
Just tell them where you're from.
Sorry.
You might want to tell them where you're from. Where do you live?
Yeah, I'm from Pune, India. But I'm working in North American IT market from last 16 years. And TechPiper is serving North American technology markets. So we help startups get technology resources or develop their projects. And that is what we're doing and deepening our services. At the same time, we started this media company also, actechnews.com. And that is taking good shape now. So it's early days, but yeah, eventually I would like to expand the scope and connect with each of you.
And I think Larry Prong's on too. You want to introduce yourself, Larry? A lot of people know Larry
Yes,
from
yes,
the industry.
I'm here. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for inviting me to participate today. I've been in the precision ag sector in Ontario for quite a long time. In fact, I think I met Chuck about 20 years ago in the early stages, the early adopter stage. It's interesting to be part of this group and see what's going on and understand some of the perspectives and thoughts about what's going on around the world. So thank you.
Yeah, I think Larry helped us with we had one of the first high accuracy easy steer systems on our planters back in the day. And he was the one that convinced us that auto steer was the way to go. So you can thank Larry for that.
Sorry, can I ask our new colleague, who's the audience for your agtechnews.com site? Is he there?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Can you repeat the question? I missed that question.
Yeah, sorry. Who's the audience for your agtechnews.com site? Is it a North American? Is it global? Is it India?
Yeah, primarily North America. This is for a startup to inform themselves about them towards the investor community, as well as find some service providers. Because once the sector grows, people will need to find spare parts to servicing, to financing, insurance. But currently, the way it is growing or likely to grow, we believe that this could be a very serious sector, and there has to be an ecosystem, and someone needs to bring the innovators, service providers, financiers, insurance funders at one platform. But yeah, being a website, obviously it is accessed by other continents also. And that is good also because they also want to understand, because in India also agtech is growing fast. Robotics is required here also. So it is going to be a major market in coming days. So it is both ways. People will look for suppliers, people will look for vendors. So AgTech News will provide that kind of knowledge sharing, a platform to interact and talk to each other.
Okay.
And grow together.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, Jay has a major investment into Niranjan's company. And part of that is, we want a footprint into India so we can bring Indian technology and robotics to Canada and North America, but also take Canadian technology and opportunities to India. So it's a very strategic investment. And Niranjan and I have worked together for probably 15 years. He was the leader of the farms.com tech team and business team in India. So we're really delighted to have him join our team with his ag experience and network. So a very senior executive in India as part of our team.
Thanks, Joe.
I do believe there's also Jeff Paddock on the call from Conestoga College. Have you introduced yourself to the group, Jeff?
Yeah, I did a couple weeks ago, but I can give myself another introduction in case anyone missed it. So I'm Jeff Paddock, the Partnership Development Manager at the Conestoga College Smart Center. And the Smart Center is Smart Manufacturing and Advanced Recycling Technology Center. So we do applied research projects with industry partners where we're able to leverage various funding sources to help offset some of the R&D costs. Also helps you connect with co-op students and subject matter experts. So yeah, if anyone wants to connect or learn any more, you can certainly shoot me a message and we can connect offline.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jeff. Any
Hey,
other
Jeff,
items?
are you working with Ala Darwish, Conestoga?
Yeah. So Ala, he leads our Center for Commercialization. So
Yeah.
One of the services we run is doing a project with the college. We don't make any claims on any IP that's discovered throughout the project. So our Center for Commercialization will help you identify that IP and set a strategy for ownership of it at the end of the project as well.
Any other items anyone else would like to bring up for this meeting? I know next week's meeting we won't be holding one because it's Good Friday. So a lot of people are going to be away, and then we'll be resuming on the 5th of April.
Let's see,
He's
Maxine.
in Quebec. Yes, do you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I can tell you that the Quebec Ministry of Agriculture, MAPAC, will fund the evaluation of 5 technologies. One for the apple sector, the potato sector, greenhouse sector, field vegetable sector, and strawberry sector. The choice of the technology will be made by Growers Association. MAPAC will also fund the design of 5 standardized protocols to be used to evaluate these technologies. MAPAC will also fund the activities of the Réseau pour l'expérimentation des technologies innovantes en agriculture, the REAI, which finances the Izmir Hernandez work. So it's not yet official. An announcement will be made in the coming weeks, but this is very good news and long expected good news. And this raises the question about how can we collaborate to not duplicate our work. If we design protocol, can it be standardized Quebec and Ontario? It's not a done deal yet because this is 100% Quebec found, so it will be made in French. So how can we communicate? So we'll have opportunities to discuss this in the future.
That's fantastic news. I see Chuck has his hand up.
Well, I think as you and I have talked before, Maxine, like I think it's sharing, interacting with this group, and by all means, whatever protocols that you're thinking of, we should think of too. And it doesn't have to be super complicated. They can be. I like the approach of picking 5 things and letting the growers decide. Like that's always although I'm going to say good luck getting the producer associations to agree on a tech. But anyways, you might have to herd those cats yourself, okay? And
Yes.
But anyways, my comment would be that stay in touch with the group, and we can 100% we want to work with you guys. So
Yes, and we will meet people from AFC Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu to discuss if we could collaborate with them. So more to come.
Well, and I know that Ismar and I were talking with Solio as well, and some other producers who there's more people who want to be involved, and so I think that's a good approach. Excellent.
Yeah, you don't know and I can understand why you might not be able to answer this, whether you know a notional dollar amount or if the money is coming from Quebec's part of SCAP? Anyway,
I don't think it's coming from SCAP, but I would have to check this. The total amount of funding is for the evaluation and the design of the protocol, it's around 760 Ks, and for the activities of the REAI, it's around 250 Ks. It's
okay,
over 3 years, so it's
All right.
almost $1 million.
$1 million. Okay, thanks.
Let's see. Keaton has his hand up as well.
Hi, so just while we're talking about R&D dollars, just the new federal budget fiscal year starts April 1. And so usually money shows up. If you're a firm that you're an R&D firm, you have a small project you want to do where you need to research techniques or analyze processes or figure out something before you launch into a large product, there may be like $50,000 to $75,000 available to help you cover 80% of the labor for your firm. The application process is not, well, at least in my opinion, terribly complicated. You just have to justify some of the processes of what you want to do and why you want to do it. And the outcome need not be determined. The point of R&D is exactly that. We're going to try a few things out, and we don't know what's going to happen, but we'll have more information at the end of it. So whether you're trying to zap weeds or you're trying to collect information about, like I said, processes, chemicals, any kind of R&D, find your local IRAP advisor, explain to them what you do, why you do it, but you need to be a for-profit innovative firm that is in this business, right? It will help start the research process, the results of which can then go forward to help fund a larger innovation project, right? And I'm just putting this out there for those of you who may be in the position to do that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And the reason I'm saying go find your ITA, your IRAP advisor, because we're regional. If you happen to be in Northern Ontario or you happen to be Quebec or elsewhere nationally, your local representative should be able to help you or guide you at least. That was it.
How fast are projects supposed to be approved?
Sorry, what was that question?
How fast are projects supposed to be approved?
So the process, like I said, is not terribly complicated. If all the information gets gathered quickly within a week or two, you can get it processed on the other side. How long it normally takes depends entirely upon your ability and timeliness to fill the application out. But you're not expected to just do it yourself. Your advisor should be able to help you.
Is there certain revenue requirements for the project to be eligible?
Revenue requirements generally are expected to be higher and expectations higher depending on the amount of funding you're looking for. But if you happen to be a 5-person, if you're a startup and you're looking for seed funding kind of stuff, it's not going to work. But you've got something in place, you've got a product, you're pushing it out there, but you're also doing some R&D, then you should be able to qualify. But again, like I said, the first thing you can do is just talk to your local advisor, and they should be able to guide you.
Thanks, Keaton.
Sure.
Any other items to be brought up? I do have a question. Would anyone find it being beneficial to have a meeting that's dedicated to a roundtable, more or less? So less on the presentation side and just this connection like we're having right now, where items can be brought up? Or is the standard format been working pretty well?
Well, I'll just
Selfishly.
give my opinion. My opinion is that as you stumble across hot topics, and you'll find them. Today we were talking about apple production. you just ask the group and it's like, okay, does this need a full meeting? And then set
Absolutely.
up the full meeting. And then
Sounds
just focus on the one issue. And people can do a bit of homework and come a little bit prepared, which is, I think, important, because then your
Mm.
thoughts can be a little more formed.
Absolutely.
I would say selfishly, I think it's okay to have discussions like this because I learned some new things once again.
Well, and that's the big point of this group as well, as this connection and kind of that information flow between parties. So
Yeah.
If we can facilitate that in a meeting, maybe once a month or something like that. But yeah, we have a specific topic, the hot button issue, that's been coming up a lot, and that's what we kind of have everyone do their research and have their questions ready to be asked or information be brought forward. That's a good idea.
Well, and I was going to say that one of the questions that's being asked of me every now and again, and was that with agriculture, when we talk about whether it's greenhouse gases or sustainability or regenerative ag, whatever that is, a lot of those terms are so nebulous. They mean so many things to different people that sometimes we need to have agree on one or two kind of specific things that we're going to work on. And whether it's soil compaction, whether it's reducing fossil fuels, whether it's reducing chemicals, we just need to pick one or two to focus on so that we don't get distracted. Because if we're trying to solve everything all at once, we end up not doing really anything. But if we solved one or two things every year, then by the time we've done this for 10 years, we've actually accomplished a lot. And so I think one of the things that this group could help do is just sort of give us some focus on the innovation farms to say, let's try to solve this one. Okay, does that make sense?
I think it does. And yeah, that's what we really want to hear, is get that guidance from the group on what we should be focusing on. Any other items before we close? No? Well, thank you all for joining us today, and I apologize on the lack of the presentation, but I think it was still a valuable meeting for everyone. We're hoping to have the annual report out soon. Once it's translated into French, we'll have that all released, and I'll give an update when that is available as well. Thank you. Have a great weekend, everyone, and have a couple more minutes in your day.
All right. Do you want to stay on for a minute, Aaron?
Absolutely. Yeah.